One, we know our own Skip Bayless here at FS1 has said that he has issues with the medical staff with the Clippers. Now, I don't know. I haven't confirmed that. I don't know if that's true or not. But if he does, if there was some egregious mistake made by the Clippers medical staff that affected Kawhi and Steve Ballmer wouldn't correct it, okay, that would be a legitimate reason in Kawhi's mind and in many people's minds. Secondly, if Kawhi has come to the conclusion that, you know what, I don't like playing at home. Too much family, too many friends, too many demands. Everybody wants tickets. I just need to be away from home during the season. Then that would be a legitimate reason. Now, I don't think either of those two things are correct. I don't think that's the case, especially with him just buying a $17 million house in March in Los Angeles. So I don't think that's the issue. But if he left for one of those two reasons, then you'd say, okay, that's a personal decision. That's legitimate. Any other reason, and I would find myself saying, what is Kawhi Leonard thinking? Like, there's no other reason. If he went to Dallas, right, that would tell me you don't want to be the man. You don't like having the responsibility of carrying a franchise. You don't like the pressure and the expectations that come with that. You don't like being the face of a franchise. You don't like being the one that gets criticized if you don't win a championship or if you underachieve. So you go to Dallas where Luka can handle all that. If you go to Miami, that is at best, a lateral move. Getting through the East with Brooklyn, Philadelphia, and Milwaukee, and Atlanta, are they for real? We'll see in the future. But it's no easier than getting through the West. And your supporting cast in Miami would be no better than your supporting cast with the Clippers. It'd be very close. And Miami can't even get you the full max. So I don't. Right. If he left for anything but the first two reasons, it would speak negatively about Kawhi Leonard. Like, what do you want? You're moving too much. You don't want to be the man. You got a great situation. Why'd you leave? So I don't see it happening.
Right. And look, you can entertain this conversation all you want. Nick, Wiles, Jenna, y'all can entertain this. I'm not going to entertain this nonsense. I did this yesterday when we were talking about this. Kawhi Leonard, two-time NBA champion, two-time NBA Finals MVP, five-time NBA All-Star. This list goes on and on and on. Three-time All-NBA first team, two-time All-NBA second team. I can keep going. And, the last thing on his little Wikipedia, California Mr. Basketball. There's nothing left for this man to do. He is comfortable in L.A., okay? He's in total control, anything he wants, and he can compete to be a contender. So why would he entertain leaving? Now, Nick, I know you always want to talk, not you always want to talk about, but you're like, and rightfully so, you're like, this whole thing about the medical staff is a big thing because it was one of the reasons why, the biggest reason why he left San Antonio, because of the medical staff and how he felt like, they weren't right. But here's the thing, Nick, you come into the league a boy and then eventually you become a man. If you stay long enough, you become a man. So what does that mean? If Kawhi Leonard doesn't sit down with Ballmer like Chris said and say, you know what, this is how I feel, let's work this out, then he is dead wrong and we should absolutely crush him. There's no reason for him to leave. The only thing he needs to do is go to PG-13 and say, bruh, what you just did when I went down, please continue to do next year and we will be just fine.
So I understand everything you and Broussard are saying. However, I do think there's a third reason that Broussard didn't list that he might leave. But before I say it, let's also talk about, instead of speculation and supposition, what we know. What we know is Kawhi Leonard has not said, I'm staying. Kawhi Leonard was asked about this back in December, and he was like, listen, obviously if I'm healthy financially, I should opt out of my contract. And then he followed that up by saying, but that doesn't mean I'm leaving, and it doesn't mean I'm staying. It's like, oh, well, that's a somewhat interesting comment. Like, there's no rule against Kawhi at any point saying, of course I'm re-signing. And you can say, oh, it takes away his leverage. No, it doesn't. He has all the leverage he wants, and he will no matter what he says. He's going to get the full max if he demands it, which he will, and he's going to get the no-trade clause. I would think that may be the only point of contention. And then the other thing we know is, Kawhi Leonard bought a mansion. Here's the thing, and I work with some rich people. Some are on this set right now, and I know a lot of them. Here's the thing about rich people. Own a lot of houses. Got a summer house here. Got a vacation property here. Travel here and there. He owns a house as if there's some rule that you must only own one house. That ain't how it works.
How many houses do you have, Wild?
Listen, Wild, he's got a summer
the question
thing here.
is for Nick.
He's got several. Yeah, no.
Right.
Jenna, I think right now is doing the show from the Hamptons. Broussard is bi-coastal. God only knows how many properties Brandon owns. But that's neither here nor there. But let's stay. I want to go back to Broussard quickly because I know Wilds has another angle. Chris, here's a third reason he might want to leave. Better chance to win. Dallas with Kawhi is better. It's just better. He has a relationship with Nico, the guy they just hired from Nike from back when Kawhi was with Nico. Luka is exponentially better than Paul George, and the Mavs aren't handcuffed with bad contracts, aside from Kristaps arguably, and they at least have their own draft capital, more so than the Clippers do. The Clippers have not done a great job. Well, I shouldn't say that. The Clippers don't have flexibility because of what they had to give up to get Paul George. They have this year's draft picks and then not their own until 2027. So if the third option is, I just want to win again, Dallas is a better option. I agree with you on Miami. Miami's a lateral move, but the thing with Miami is Jimmy Butler's there. He initially wanted to play with Jimmy, and then he decided to play with Paul George once Jimmy wasn't available. But wouldn't you think Dallas plus Kawhi is better?
Kawhi Leonard doesn't need to go ring chasing. Kawhi Leonard has already, he's a made man. He's got 2 rings. I would not sacrifice being the man in a place where I can win to go be the second fiddle. Luka you're right, he's better than Paul George, no doubt about that. But here's the other thing, Nick. Luka's ball dominant. Now, he's young enough where he might be able to change. I actually think they need to change up a little bit the way he plays and get him being part of the system rather than the system. Kristaps Porzingis, for goodness sakes, is complaining about he don't get enough touches and enough ability to do his thing. You think Kawhi Leonard's going to be happy playing with somebody that's dominating the ball the way Luka is? As great as he is, that is tough to play with when you're a guy that can go get your own stuff. You can create off the dribble and things like that. That's hard to play with when you can do those things. So I think that's an issue. And Nick, let me throw this to you quickly. Don't you think it'd be a chance to win, a better chance to win, perhaps. But also, wouldn't it say Kawhi doesn't want to be the man? Like I said, I don't want that responsibility. I don't want to be the face of the franchise.
Yeah, it might.
Put it on
But here's
Luka.
the thing. It might. He might not want to be. Like, he had a ton of success in San Antonio, wasn't the man, and then left when he became the man. Toronto was like a one-year mercenary thing. L.A. was about going home. What we know about Kawhi is he wants to be left alone. He wants to play basketball, wear those silly shoes, make bad commercials, and be left alone. That's what he wants. It was very silly. And
Nick,
so,
James Worthy wore New Balance. Stop. James Worthy wore New Balance.
Go ahead, Wilds.
How about I meet you in the middle? Because I don't think he cares about being the man. I think he cares about winning, especially if you have a chronic injury that's sort of like you've got to be thinking about your long-term future. The only thing that drives you is winning. And we know that he likes to win. If you want to see him have real emotion, it's when he wins the championship. So I'm going to throw this to you, Broussard. Kevin O'Connor crushed this article, by the way, if we could put this full screen up. With so few avenues to make significant moves, obviously they're stuck with the salary cap. They got Reggie Jackson coming up. Some executives wonder, what if Leonard wants the Clippers to dump George in order for him to re-sign long-term? It'd be a heck of a power play. Broussard, this seems to be a little Game of Thronesy, but might be the answer. The Clippers are not going to be any better next year. In fact, they could be worse if they lose Reggie Jackson. So unless you want a totally different result, when you're looking at teams that are stacked, we know that Brooklyn is going to be stacked and healthy next year. I don't think, and we know the Lakers are going to be healthy, I don't think Kawhi thinks he can run it back and really make a run of the championship. So what do you think about him saying, hey, Steve, what do we think about moving Paul George for somebody?
But it's not like you have to jettison Paul George. And you're right, they're not going to be the definitive favorites. Nobody is except Brooklyn. That's it. Phoenix, if they win it this year, they're not the definitive favorites. The Lakers aren't the definitive favorites. The only team that people will say, if they're healthy, they're going to win it, is Brooklyn. And Nick knows it. He don't want to admit it. So this is pure speculation. I know how it works, too. I mean, these are rival executives. They don't know what's in Kawhi Leonard's head. They have no idea. This is just, and I get it. I do it, too, with
over here.
But this is just them talking. This is just them talking. What if he wants
that
Paul
small
George
jersey
out?
on, Brandon?
You know,
Let's go.
That's all that is.
Put on
So
that
this is
baby
not.
jersey.
I don't even know what we talking about anymore. All I heard was the Nets is the only clear-cut favorite to the title next year. I don't even know what we talking about anymore.
Healthy,
Talk that
no
talk, Chris.
doubt.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the base.
That's
the base I've been asking about all year. That's the base I want.
Broussard,
That's
give us what we want.
Jenna.
Give us that hit of the good stuff. Say those words.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.